Cool. Thanks everybody for coming tonight for, I think this is the first town council forum. Dylan has one tonight too, but we've got a big ramp up to municipal election season here. So thanks for being here and participating. My name is Nicole Miller. I'm the former editor of the Summit Daily News. As of Monday, we have a new editor, but he's so brand new, I didn't think it was fair to throw him into this quite yet. So you'll see him around the community starting pretty soon. So I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. We also worked with the community, and thanks to Kim, to get folks to submit questions for tonight. So we'll ask most or some form of all of those questions that folks submitted. And then thanks to the town for providing the space for us as well. So the way it's going to go tonight is everyone will have 2 minutes to make an introduction, and then we'll have 4 questions, and you'll have 2 minutes to answer each question. And we're just going to start at one end, go back, and then we'll go back in the opposite order. So we'll just kind of do this all night. You do have a microphone over there, Valerie, so we're going to have to pass that for folks to speak into because we are also recording this tonight so that we can put it online. Recommendations to hold about 6 inches away from your face, and then there are some wipes floating around too if you want to. Clean it in between uses, totally up to you.
Alrighty.
Does anyone have any questions before we get started? Okay, we do have one council person candidate who can't be here tonight, so I'm going to read his introduction right before we start with you. So Zach couldn't be here tonight. Zach says, I'm sorry I can't be with you tonight, but I'm excited about the opportunity to serve Silverthorne. I believe in small but effective government that supports growth, small business, and the rights of existing residents and property owners. Government should help the community become stronger, healthier, and more diverse while limiting regulation and government size. Based on feedback from Silverthorne residents, my key priorities are to develop an infrastructure plan aligned with business and population growth, improve access to affordable housing for people who work in Silverthorne, and increase availability of affordable childcare. I appreciate your support and promise to actively engage with all stakeholders to help Silverthorne continue to grow and prosper. So Valerie, we'll move on to you.
Okie dokie. 2 minutes. Enjoy. No, I'm just kidding. Valerie Connelly. I have lived here for 42 years. I was born and raised and have a whole slew of family here. I have a great husband, awesome husband, 2 awesome kids, and they are in elementary school, a middle school. We enjoy living over on Reese Road, just down the street, and I have done a lot of jobs. I am mostly in marketing and business management. I own Southern Exposure Salon in Dillon, and I also work as the tech support specialist for the high school. So I'm like a business geek kind of person. You know, I believe in being a good neighbor. I believe in listening to what people are saying, and think that I can be a very empathetic person, a very diplomatic person, and I just really wanted the opportunity to be involved with the community and be part of the decisions that are being made, and be like a liaison for my neighbors and a conduit for getting stuff done. So that's what I'm all about.
Thank you, Valerie. Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Young, and because sometimes I suffer foot and mouth disease, I've written out my intro so I don't forget stuff. So my name is Erin. I've lived in Silverthorne since I was a small child, and as is my husband, and now we're raising our less small child here in Silverthorne too. And I'm honored with the opportunity that I have to be able to run for town council in Silverthorne. I believe I'm one of the best candidates because of my abilities to balance dualities in a critical and an unbiased fashion. One might say that I am a professional judge. These dualities will include urgency and long-term planning, sustainability and development, business and community. As you can see, I believe in ands rather than ors. I opened my business Red Buffalo Cafe in Silverthorne in 2009, and I can proudly say that I serve all of Silverthorne's residents and visitors in an inclusive environment over shared experiences. I have served on the Silverthorne Planning Commission since last February and have a strong understanding of its current and proposed comprehensive plans. Additionally, I helped develop the Art and Culture Strategic Plan back in 2016. I've been a member of the Early Childhood Board of Directors for many, many years, and will continue to work towards increasing availability and affordability of childcare on the north end of Summit County. I've served on the Summit County Board of Ed from 2007 to 2015, and serving in a multitude of different work groups. So I feel like my experience has helped me so I can advocate for Silverthorne on county, regional, and state issues. My experience in the community through business, volunteering, and boards will guarantee a really short onboarding process and time to ensure that we have a swift progression into getting stuff done. I see myself as a voice for Silverthorne, and I do not come to you with my agenda, but with the voices of those from around the community. So I thank you all for the consideration in this election.
Hi, my name is Chris Karen, and I don't have anything really written down. I moved here in 2005 after living here part-time for about 20 years prior to that. And I've raised 2 children in this community through the Summit School System. In 2005, we opened Locals Liquors in a small store just north of the post office, about 950 square feet. In 2009, the town and the developer to the Silverthorne Town Center came to us and asked us if we would move over to the town center. And we now operate a 4,500 square foot liquor store fairly successfully. I've been pretty active within the town. We do a lot of charitable things together. Locals Appreciation Party, which each year benefits 5 local charities. In 2020, we worked with the town and our vendors to put HEPA purification systems in all the Silverthorne elementary classrooms. I've worked on Silverthorne's Economic Development Advisory Council. I am now on their Events Planning Commission. I just think this is a really critical, important time in the growth of Silverthorne, and we need to take a look at it, how it affects all the stakeholders, and so that's what I hope to do.
Hi, my name is Tim Applegate. I have lived in Summit County now for 10 years this week. Happy anniversary. I am married to my wife, Deb. We have been married for 22 years. We moved to Summit County to get away from the hustle and bustle of New England and wanted something different, and this is why we moved here. We finally have moved to Silverthorne a little over 2.5 years ago now, and we were coming from Frisco. Happy to be here. I love this town. I think it's, as the 10 years I've spent in this county, this is the first time I really felt welcomed was this town. I am one of the principal partners and owners of Sauce on the Blue, Enza's Delicatessen, and our new restaurant, Cuchu Tequila Bistro, which we just opened 2 months ago. Besides that, we have an additional 4 restaurants or 5 restaurants in the county between Avon and here. So I think I have a really good understanding of what the county's looking for. I have served on the Planning Commission for the last 1.5 years with Aaron. I have also served on the Board of Directors for the Summit County Chamber for the last 5 years. Been a member of that for the last 6 or 7 years or so. And we do a lot of stuff for the community. We've done a lot of stuff for the Silverthorne Elementary. We've done a lot of stuff for pretty much every nonprofit in Summit County. And I was a developer and a builder in Connecticut, a landscaper mostly, for the last 30 years before I moved here. So I think I have a good skill set of what's going on. And as Silverthorne is growing in the next 10 years, I can see that there's going to be a lot of growth. And that's one of the reasons why I threw my hat in the ring. I think I have a skill set that can help, and I'd like to make sure that we're growing at a reasonable rate and that we're not just developing to develop. So some of the things that I'm concerned about, of course, I think we're all concerned about health care, child care. Traffic is a big issue for all of us. Housing is probably the biggest. With a little over 175 employees in the county, housing is probably the biggest concern that we have as a business owner. Where do they live? How do we get new housing? How do we get new employees? So that's one of the things I want to help, and I feel privileged and honored to be part of this county or part of this town, and I really want to give back. So, do you think that's my 2-minute warning or something? Well, thank you, everybody.
It coincided really well, but I don't know what that was.
I felt like I was getting asked away.
Hi, my name is Kelly Baldwin, and I moved to Summit County in 1983 after I graduated from college. I have a bachelor's degree in wildlife biology and ecology, and I moved out here because I wanted to be where I enjoyed life, not necessarily where I got a good job. So those first few years I worked for the U.S. Forest Service as a compliance officer and a wildfire firefighter. And then I moved to Copper Mountain and started working in their accounting department, of all things. And I worked as their manager of accounting for about 12 years, I think. And then I left and went to Vail Resorts, and I worked there as a accounting department manager for another 10 years. And then I left and started my own business, which I've been doing for the last 13 years. So I own Elevation Bookkeeping and Accounting, which is a small business here in Silverthorne, and I actually do the bookkeeping and accounting for a variety of other small businesses within Silverthorne and the county. And I'm married to my husband, Kurt Crampert, and he owns a small business in Silverthorne, High Country Auto Specialists. So I've lived in Summit County for 38 years, and I've lived in Silverthorne for 16 or 17, I think. I've been on town council for the last 3.5 years, so I'm an incumbent running again. I really believe in fiscal responsibility, so I believe in balancing revenues with expenditures and saving for that rainy day. I also believe in building really good, affordable workforce housing of a variety of types, because it's not just the workforce that can buy a place that's needed here in Summit County.
Your time's up.
Can you hear me?
Your time's up.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Wow.
2 minutes just flies by.
Vote for me. I want to represent everybody in Silverthorne.
All right. Hi, my name's Tanisha Spagnolia. I own 2 small businesses, Tree Line Bloody Mary Mixes and Timberline Craft Kitchen and Cocktails. I own with my husband. We built both those businesses from the ground up. I'm originally from Pennsylvania. I went to school in Pennsylvania. I have an undergrad and master's in business, and after I graduated college, I moved out to Colorado. I was a snowboard instructor at Breckenridge, worked for Vail Resorts, and really just fell in love with Summit County, and always wanted to get back here. So that's why I'm here now, and moved back 3 years ago. My husband and I have 2 small kids. Right now they're in daycare. Totally understand the challenges we all face with the daycare. My older daughter will be going to Silverthorne Elementary in the fall. Prior to opening my own businesses, I worked in the scientific industry for 14 years in marketing, sales, and management. I really want to be on town council because I feel that I could strongly advocate for the local families, our local businesses, our small businesses and their needs. And then also, more important, all of the employees in the workforce here that are trying to live here and find affordable housing. I have over 20 employees that I have to support like their family and help them find housing. And that's crucial, and Silverthorne really needs to make sure we continue to take care of the people that can't afford the $1 million+ homes. I'm an active member of Summit County Rotary Club. I'm on the Chamber of Commerce Board, and through all my businesses, or both my businesses, I support local nonprofits as much as possible. And I just want to say I'm honored to be a candidate for town council with such great, wonderful people. And I think that's the important thing being on town council is people we can work with and collaborate with and bring different ideas to the table. So it's an honor to be sitting next to all these fine people. Thanks.
Good
That was perfect. Anne-Marie Sandquist. I'm the incumbent mayor, and I am running unopposed, which is I appreciate. But I'm super excited, honestly, to see everybody that's running for council. I can tell you, I've lived in Silverthorne for 17 years, so not as long as some of you guys. Served on planning commission for a couple of years when I first moved here. Then I was on council for 8 years. Then I was off for a couple of years and then came back to be mayor. And, I'll tell you that during a number of those years, it was even hard for us to find enough candidates to fill out our council seats and, and have enough people to actually be on council. And so to me, I think it's really cool how many of our business owners and our local people that are interested in being on council, and it just makes me happy. It just makes me realize how far we have come as a community, that the participation levels and the excitement of the things that are going on in Silverthorne, and I think it's a cool thing. So one of the reasons I wanted to run again for council is, we are going to have a pretty good shift with our council members, where we have some older council members who've been on council for a long time that are term limited, that aren't going to be running again, and we're going to have newer council members. And I think it's good to have a little bit of a bridge to the past. And I think about when I first got on council, and this was back after 2009 and 10, and we had the big recession and things going on, and as a council we worked to build an urban renewal authority, and it was tough at that time because you're trying to look forward in a time of great need and realize, okay, we're going to have to do some of this stuff to incent development and incent business. And so and I look at where we're at now, and I think it's really cool how far we've come, but like I said, I think there needs to be a little bit of a bridge to the past so that everybody understands that, man, this just didn't happen without a lot of work. And I know that nobody.
Time's up.
Wow, that was quick. Anyway, vote for me. Thanks.
And you can hang on to the microphone because you'll answer our first question here, which is really about tourism and the growth of Silverthorne. So how would you work to ensure the rapid growth of Silverthorne does not impact the quality of life for residents as it relates to crowding, traffic, and demand for services?
Wow, that's a loaded first question.
From a Silverthorne resident.
So, Silverthorne, we do a great job of making sure that we have plans for everything. We have a comprehensive plan for development to make sure that, our building codes are met, that architecture is met in certain ways. We have traffic plans. Every time we do a new development, there is a traffic study that goes along with it. And then we have an overarching traffic study that we just updated back in 2020, which, because we need to know what that development's going to do to different traffic. I will say that, there's been a lot of expansion, a lot of growth in Silverthorne. When we look at the zoning, and we try to keep, we try to look at the different areas of Silverthorne. There's going to be some areas that's going to have more density, some areas that's going to have less density. We updated that a number of years ago, and it's tough. I look back now and I'm like, God, man, I wish we didn't have quite that much density in certain areas, but you can't go back and change it now. We can't pull that back from a developer. So, our staff does a good job of trying to work with developers on new things and talk to them about maybe not cramming, as much, everything that they possibly can onto a development to make it, more user-friendly, more pedestrian-friendly, easier for traffic to get in and out of, and we're all going to, constantly work on that. We have the arts and culture plan. My feeling is it's very important for us as a community to also have, in addition to our parks, to also make sure that we're also growing our cultural activities in Silverthorne. I think that is a great attractant for people coming into the community. And so we look at all these different areas within Silverthorne and make sure that there is something for everyone that comes in, not just one thing. So.
Your time's up.
That was
There you go. Nailed it that time. And if anyone needs me to repeat the question, just let me know.
Yeah, could you?
Yeah. How would you work to ensure the rapid growth of Silverthorne does not impact the quality of life for residents as it relates to crowding, traffic, and demand for services?
Okay. So I think Silverthorne has done a lot of great things to build a sense of community here. Everything from the marketing with like First Fridays and different events throughout the year. The Smith Ranch development, it's really become, Silverthorne has done a great job of building community, and while putting in new hotels and more second home apartments and condos that are going to be owned by second homeowners, I think we need to manage that really carefully and make sure that a certain percentage of that is still going to be supporting the locals, whether it's going to be through a lodging tax or it's going to be through they have to limit how much they rent the places, and maybe they have to do more long-term rentals in some of those locations to make sure we're supporting the local community. And then also it's definitely important on the infrastructure. Do we need more cell towers, improving the roads, improving the sidewalks? All that needs to be thought out carefully, and there's a fine line with continuing the growth and not improving the local infrastructure.
Go ahead.
Like Anne Marie said, we have a full comprehensive plan for the town of Silverthorne. It includes building codes, it includes plans for traffic, it includes plans for development, to ensure that there's not too much density, to ensure that we don't lose the character of Silverthorne. And so when we're looking towards our quality of life in the town of Silverthorne, we always kind of look back towards those comprehensive plans because they're kind of all inclusive and take care of most of these issues. Also within that plan is the recreation, I think, and development plan. So it outlines trying to keep enough recreational space and outdoor space and open space within the town limits so that we're not completely crowded in with development. We also have tried to take into consideration traffic in our planning. Some things have kind of thrown a monkey wrench into that traffic planning with the closures of Glenwood Canyon and the closures of the I-70 corridor during bad weather. So that's one of my big goals, is to try and get us on the docket with CDOT for exit 205. And fortunately, with our partners and stakeholders, we'll be able to do that, because I think that's incremental in keeping the character of Silverthorne. So.
Thank you. That's probably one of the better questions, because I think a lot of us are concerned about that. We all moved here 1 year ago or 40 years ago to be part of this community and how beautiful it is. And one of the challenges is to see that, you know, we've all got our house and other people want to move in, and how do we make sure that they have a place to live, and how do we have new businesses have employees have a place to live? And I think that's the challenge going to be facing us over the next 10 years. I'd like to make sure that we're doing growth in a proper way, but we're also concerned about the traffic. I mean, we've all lived here, and we all know the shortcuts to get out of the traffic to get to the grocery store or the highway. And you know, that's the thing I'd like to see us concentrate the most on over the next couple of years. I think the exit 205 is probably going to be our biggest challenge, if we can get CDOT to get behind this and actually try to get something to the point of that. And you know, it's there's beautiful hiking and trails and everything around here, and you know, everything is getting overused. So I think it's just making sure that we have proper growth and we're not growing faster than we can afford to, or you know, actually allow to make sure that people can live here comfortably. So thanks.
I know that we do have comprehensive plans that have taken a lot of study and a lot of stakeholders have put their thoughts into, and I think we need to continue to follow those, but we need to continue to readdress them as this growth happens. Like Anne Marie said, sometimes we have more density than we should, so perhaps we should readdress exactly what we're doing within that density. I think we need to continue to work with CDOT and try to get them to the table and create some action on what we're doing with exit 205. We need to increase public transportation. We need to increase pedestrian transportation, bicycles, make it welcoming. If we're gonna bring more tourists here, we need to get them out of their cars and onto the streets and looking, you know, walking around, and you can see more and more of that. But with that, I believe that as the development comes, we need to think of the infrastructure both socially and structurally prior to letting these developments happen. You know, if you're gonna put a hotel in, you need to make sure there's a sidewalk in front of it. We need a sidewalk on Adams. I see people walking down the highway, you know, because they don't know where they're supposed to walk, because the Silverthorne Town Center has no sidewalk there, yet we're trying to create a pedestrian type of a city. So I think we need to continue to work on the infrastructure prior to us stretching it or causing problems. You know, we need to make sure that the sewage lines will handle what we put in and not tear them up after it's already been developed and we can't handle it anymore.
Thank you, Chris. There's a lot of things in that question, so if I miss something, I might just ask
Do you want me to repeat it?
I'll mention what I remember, and then if I forget, I'll ask if there's something I forgot. I'll just go right off of what Chris was saying about infrastructure. We're a town with about 5,000 in-town limits. We're a county of about 40,000 total. But on any given day, on a busy weekend, we can be over 200,000. And our infrastructure was not necessarily developed to support that. And getting ahead of the cart, so to speak, is something that's going to be hard because we're already chasing it down the highway. And I know we already have big plans for our sewage system in Silverthorne, and we're going to have to continually rethink of these things. So that way we can hopefully solve what we will see could be a problem before we have to rip up the highway again in the middle of June, which unfortunately will happen because that's just our, you know, we have construction season and we have construction season. So when we think about our plans for Silverthorne, I think of everything as cyclical. I'm going to struggle on that word right now. We have to move everything in a circle, meaning we have planning, implementation, reflection, and then adjusting, and then you start again. The comprehensive plan that is in development right now, I think, has really great amendments, a part of that reflection and adjustments to the 2014 comprehensive plan. I love what I've seen in the transportation plan and the parks and open space one that just got launched. If anyone really geeks out on spreadsheets, the transportation plan is amazing. I really enjoyed it. I'm not being sarcastic, it was fun. But everything we have to think about in Summit, people moved here for a lifestyle. In the Art and Culture Committee, we called it the gateway to opportunity. That's what Silverthorne was going to be, and it is. It really is, for businesses, for people wanting to recreate here, and hopefully people staying here. I've heard many people say, well, I don't know if I want to be friends with all these new people because they might move in 5 years. And that's really sad to hear. I don't want people to say, I can't open up to you because you might move in 5 years. So we need to make sure that as we look at business development, we look at housing development, and we look at infrastructure, that it's in a way that we keep community.
Time's up.
I'll have you repeat because I
Yeah.
feel like I'm playing telephone.
Yeah, at the very end, totally. How would you work to ensure the rapid growth of Silverthorne does not impact the quality of life for residents as it relates to crowding, traffic, and demand for services?
I think decisions and plans have been made. I had a special seat at the table when I was a kid. My dad was mayor, and now some of the stuff I look at, I'm like, what were you doing here? But the truth is, it was all laid with the best intention, and a lot of thought and work and things go into it. But there's no crystal balls. At the end of it, you don't know how the dominoes are going to fall and how all of these things are going to truly work out. And I think any student of housing or workforce issues in the municipality industry is going to tell you that density is really the key to being able to have places for all of your people to stay. But when you have an area that has a demand for people to be here, what we didn't see coming was all of these places that we've been building, all of this stuff that we've been working towards, getting sort of sucked up like a sponge by the people that it's a little bit more attainable for. And so I think with density, we weren't necessarily on the wrong track, and we know that we have a beautiful river running through our town, so why wouldn't you want to live there? I know I covet a little place over on the river on the other side that I woulda, shoulda, coulda. But, the point is, I don't think anyone didn't think that was a good idea. But now I think we need to reflect it's crippling our workforce, not being able to have homes for them. Silverthorne has been a leader in the whole thing of always having affordable homes, to the Archdiocese housing that was built, to Smith Ranch now. There's so many projects that Silverthorne has spearheaded before any other town was willing to touch it. And that's huge, but the fact is it's just not enough. I wish we could put our heads around that a little bit. I think the numbers are out there, how many homes do we need to satisfy our problem?
Time's up. All right, so question 2, this is actually, it's kind of a climate change question, and we got the most submissions on this topic from anybody, so definitely important to the community. What actionable steps can Silverthorne take to mitigate the effects of climate change, including decreased snowpack and an increased risk of wildfire? And how do you plan to meet the goals of the Summit Climate Action Plan?
Well, I think that everything moves in a cycle, and obviously we have climate change and global warming, but there's some things that stick out from years and years ago where you've seen these patterns before. And so I like to take a heavy grain of salt when I'm looking at this, and how much of this is what we've seen in the last 100 years, and how much of it needs mitigation. I think that when I was growing up, recycle, recycle, recycle. And I don't see that message being delivered to children the way that it was to my generation. Earth Day was a huge celebration, so just really instilling that, conservatorship for the earth into our children is a really big thing that I think that we could go back to. And then there's a lot of technical stuff that we work on and experts that we talk to. But I think just being mindful of everything that we use and ways that we can support the environment around town with recycling, with just composting and all of the normal things, like, I think all of those things are on the right track. I think having Tesla stations is amazing, but I wish they were just stations. I wish we had just electric car stations and that they weren't specific. You know, so I think there's a lot of things we can do to broaden the people that we support with that kind of stuff. That's where I'm at. Yeah. The sustainability pro.
So, different hat. My master's degree is in environmental law, management, and policy. And when I was on the board of ed, when I left, they gave me an award as the Green Queen because I wrote the district sustainability management policy. So I take this very personally because it's been something I've watched since I was a kid. We have watched acid rain, we've watched deforestation, and it makes me mad that we've not made much headway. So I want to keep pushing it, and I will do it in a way that is good for business, I'll make it in a way that's good for development, and absolutely in a way that's better for my kid. Marketing, you said we need to make climate change cool. There's your tagline. You need to make it so people want to participate, so people care about it, and that's residents and visitors. Again, when it comes to development, we can't build our way out of housing. It's going to ruin our view corridors. It's going to ruin our open space. We need to look at what we have, and we need to do it better. We need to do it greener. In the sustainability world, we say you need to build blue before you can build green. You need to focus on the emissions of your buildings before you work on the materials that you build new buildings with. I think we need to work on our transportation. That includes better sidewalks. That includes better bikeways. I talked to Tom, our transportation manager, a ton about the sidewalks that randomly end. He will help me with that. And also that urban wildfire interface. Again, the more we keep building into our forested areas, the greater risk we're going to have with our multi-million-dollar homes and our large condos coming under grave risk because of wildfires, and that risk is not going down. And I think we can look at ways to help educate. Again, we need to make climate change cool. We can talk about wildfires, and we can talk about climate change, and I think we can do it in a way that really is financially beneficial to all of us.
I think climate change is of utmost importance, and if we don't start at the community and the base level, it's never going to become effective at a national or a global level. I mean, we have to take responsibility for what we do. The High Country Conservation Plan, I believe in. I believe in pay-as-you-go recycle and trash usage. I think that we need to educate. I think we know what's happening to our community. We know that we're going to be without a landfill in 2056, but I don't think our tourists know that. And like Erin said before, that's 5,000 of us Silverthorne residents that goes up to 30,000 on any given weekend. How much are they adding without knowing how to recycle, without knowing how to do things properly here when they come to visit? It's easier just to throw it apart. We have the best water, and we've been given awards for it, but when we had peak provisions, I was selling cases of water for $20 a piece, and people were buying them. You know, we were doing as much as we could to discourage single use, and people would continue to do it. So I think we need to truly educate the people that come here, because they're coming from places that, one, don't depend on our natural environment as much as we do, and their impact that they have here is substantially greater than the impact of the residents of this county and this community. So I think through education on public transportation, education on how to get to the ski areas more easily, faster, you can bike here, we can park your bikes at these events, you can walk here because we've put in sidewalks and public transportation. I think those are the things that we need to do to lessen the impact here at a community level.
I live in Angler Mountain, or I live in Silvertrout, right below Angler Mountain. So the fire was in my backyard. I watched that thing happen. I was sitting on my back deck. I think I was one of the first to call in 911. It's a major issue. I mean, one of the problems, we've got to do something to get rid of some of the dead growth that's up there, because if that fire hits again, and if that was 2 weeks earlier, it would have been a different story. I think we need to manage the forest a little bit better, try to get some of the dead growth that's out of there. That would help with some of that. And when I first moved here, you know, we had single stream recycling. Now we don't. So it's not as easy as to recycle as it once was here. And I think if we can get back to that point, I think that would help us. I watch some of the people up there. I watch Erin, who's incredible at it. I wish I could be half the person she is for recycling. She does a great job. I'd like to see more of us try to learn from the experiences of our youth. Our youth is here to help us on this, and if we don't do a better job in this, there won't be anything left in 200 years, 300 years, whatever it's going to be. But that's probably one of the biggest challenges we see, and I think I'd look to a lot of people around here, a lot of people up here on this table to help us with suggestions and solutions for some of these problems. So thanks.
Well, this one's a big issue for me. I consider myself to be a very environmental person. My husband has a very environmentally driven auto shop in Silverthorne. We as a family are very environmentally driven and try to do everything we possibly can to help the ecology and sustain the environment in Summit County. In Summit County, the environment and the economy are completely tied together. I don't know what Summit County would be like if it didn't have winter anymore. I think that would be a huge hit to our economy. So I believe in policies like our climate change policies that we have implemented in Summit County. I believe in the pay-as-you-throw policy with High Country Conservation Center. I believe in sustainable building codes, although I do believe that there needs to be some sort of variances with those in the case of something like the Marshall Fire that happened on the Front Range around Christmas time. Those people are struggling to build their homes again with the sustainable building codes that are in place down there. I believe in public transportation. I believe in increasing EV charging stations within the county. I believe in following the science, even though I know that the science is constantly changing. Like it used to be that for wildfire protection, you had to build a defensible space around your home. Now that's changed a little bit, and you can actually have aspens close to your house because they actually act as a fire break because they contain so much water. So I believe in building environmental policies in Summit County and in Silverthorne and following them so that we have a Summit County and a Silverthorne to live in and enjoy for years to come, and for our children to live and enjoy as well.
I think we're moving in the right direction. I like that the grocery stores have banned plastic bags, and we're definitely, as a community, I think we're getting there. But I agree with Chris a lot on educating the tourists. I'm disgusted every time I go and see, tons of tourists buying plastic water bottles, cases of them, and I'm like, you're probably not even gonna drink all those and throw them out. Just educate them. Maybe can we put a sign up in the grocery store that says, our water is good to drink. You don't need to buy that. But there's a lot of work still to be done. We have a very low recycling rate. I think the pay as you throw program is a good program, but it needs to be affordable and it needs to be easy. A lot of times, the waste from people just comes because it's more difficult for them to find recycling. I think I like, the great, all the glass bins around the county now are great, but it would also be way more convenient for everyone if we could have our glass picked up with our trash. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't recycle their glass because they have to drive it to one of those bins. So just the ease and and making sure it's affordable for lower income people is going to be a huge driver to help us improve on that front. We could get more people to take buses. The buses are free. Cut down on the cars on the road and the emissions. And then just lastly, on the fires, which are super scary for everyone, I think just educating our kids more on how to improve and what we can do to better our trails and everything the firefighters do to help mitigate that fire. If we can educate the kids at a younger level, maybe there will be change in the future.
Thank you. So, Silverthorne has done actually a lot in the sustainability field, and I just want to hit a couple of those things. Back in 2013, Silverthorne bought into the solar garden in Breckenridge we spent about $730,000 to offset, some of the electricity usage in the town. And since then, we have made a wind power purchase through Excel to basically offset 100% of the electrical usage in the town. So we've gone down that path. If you look at North Pond, there's solar gardens out there, and that's actually a demonstration, sort of a tech and power site. It actually powers the bathrooms and everything at North Pond, and and it was designed. People come in to look at that technology, and it's pretty cool. So we allowed the owner of that technology to use that site to demonstrate. But it's a very cool thing, and to me, it's a constant reminder, right, of what we need to be focusing on. As you guys know, we have the Tesla charging stations in town. We were the first to have them. We actually have more charging stations than anybody else in the community. We've got EV parking as well in the new bus station, which is pretty cool. A couple of other things, our repaving. We actually reuse the pavement that's there. We chop it up and redo it instead of pulling out the pavement, disposing it, and which is a kind of a huge waste. Lots of other things, a couple things. The sewer plant, they've done some interesting things with heat recovery. Those guys are a little geeky over there. I can't explain it, but it's a way to, pull back the heat. I will say, I agree with everybody especially on the visitors that we have here. I'm going to kind of give a little prompt for Mountain Town 2030, which is going to happen in Breckenridge this fall. That was something that happened in Jackson Hole a number of years ago, and it was supposed to come to Breckenridge 2 years ago, and then of course COVID hit. But one of the things is as mountain towns,
You are out of time.
this was a good one too.
Okay, our third question, we talked a little bit about fire, and I know emergency services are really important to folks in Silverthorne. So how will you work to push Summit Fire and EMS to build a station to provide critical emergency services in Silverthorne?
That is a great question, and that is one that we have been quietly trying to talk to Summit Fire and EMS about for a long period of time. We have the administrative building, the old fire station that's here in Silverthorne, but it has not actually been a fire station for a long time. It's been just an administrative building. It has held, fire trucks in there, and there is one in there right now, but it has never, not for a long time, held any, staff. Staff has to come in, firemen have to come in basically to pull the trucks out and do that. And, and even back to 2012, we look actually even further back than that. The current fire chief was talking about how we needed to have a fire station in Silverthorne, and our growth has been incredible, as have our property taxes, which helps Summit Fire and EMS. So, I know they just had the new mill levy that passed. So they are going to have more money for, some capital improvements down here. We've been talking to them about maybe doing kind of a phased station. They have identified, the site out by the new Public Works facility, further north of Silverthorne, which I think is a good site. And so, we may look at, initially a couple of bays to house engines and get to the point where we have a fully staffed fire station. But that is absolutely one of the my priorities, definitely for the next 4 years. I will also tell you that there is going to be a board election for Summit Fire and EMS, and I would encourage everyone to take a look at that. It's never widely publicized, and I think we need to be. I think we all need as a community to be involved in what's happening.
I think Anne Marie summed it up really well. This is a new topic I'm just learning about, and I didn't even really think prior to learning about this topic how much of a need it was. I think the numbers show with the growth of Silverthorne that this is a need for the community. Absolutely, the town needs to present it to whoever needs to be presented to, so that we can get this pushed through. We have the land that can support an additional, like Anne Marie said, by the elementary school to house either the trucks or the actual firehouse. So we're in a good position that some other communities are not, to have, just build a firehouse. We actually have the land here. So it should be a top priority. And I think the numbers with the traffic, with the new development, and the risk of, during a traffic time, trying to get a fire truck down from Dillon, those numbers speak for themselves, and it should be a top priority of the town to get that pushed through.
This is a huge priority for me. Even though it doesn't seem that the Dillon Fire Station is that physically far from the town of Silverthorne, when traffic is backed up from I-70, obviously it's pretty much an impossible endeavor to get anything between Dillon and Silverthorne. So having a fire station and an EMS station in the town of Silverthorne readily available in case of an emergency is a huge deal. Like Anne Marie said, we've gotten a little bit of a light commitment from the Summit County, what is it called? Summit Fire and EMS, to provide some sort of a station down in Silverthorne, a staffed station, even though it might be small, it might only have one emergency vehicle in it. But we have gotten a light commitment from them in order to do that. We do pay property taxes and mill levies for fire and EMS protection, so we deserve to have that in Silverthorne, and the citizens of Silverthorne deserve to feel that they are adequately protected in case of an emergency. So we're working really hard on that. That's a priority for me, and it's a priority for the current town council.
I think that should be a priority for all of us in this room. I mean, we all saw the fire last year, and there's a pretty good chance that if we had a fire truck in town, it could have got up there and put that fire out faster. I sat on my back deck and watched it go from the size of a sled to, the size of a football field in 20 minutes. Who's to say that wouldn't have happened or wouldn't have been able to have been put out faster if we didn't have our own fire company? And for the fact that we don't have one here, it doesn't make any sense. The amount of homes, the amount of businesses, the amount of people that live in this town, and the same thing is there are times that Dillon Fire Company or maybe the Frisco Fire Company can't get here fast enough because of traffic delays. We've seen this highway come to a complete stop. We've seen Route 9 come to a complete stop. So I think at some point, it's got to be a priority for all of us to have our own fire department in town. And I would totally be in support of that. And I hope that we can, as a council, can get that through in the next couple of years. Hopefully it doesn't take 4 years. So thanks.
I think over the past few years, we've definitely seen a need to have emergency response vehicles, both EMS and fire, within this community. We saw it with the fire up in Wilderness. We saw it with the fire down in Angler. I need to get a better understanding of what the obstacles are to get that here before I can say what kind of a plan that I would have, but I would tell you that it has to happen. We've got more and more people are going up into the woods, more and more people are building fires that they shouldn't be building during fire bans, not understanding what the consequences may be of that. So I guess I need to get a better understanding of what the obstacles are, but it is definitely a priority that we need to protect this community, especially as it grows and especially as we go further and further back into the woods.
I think what this question truly highlights is our need for multi-jurisdictional cooperation and negotiations. The Summit Fire EMS is its own tax district, and as Kelly was saying, that's something that as a county that we're all paying for, we need to work with those representatives at Summit EMS with the county. But also, as you were just mentioning too, Forest Service is a piece of this fire safety puzzle as well. So again, it's being able to have negotiation skills to work within all these jurisdictions to make sure that all of the needs are being addressed rather than just bucking the ball to the department that we think is actually the one responsible when it's everyone at the table. They've mentioned before the highway closures are a major issue. I've brought it up with former Senator Baumgartner, and I bugged Senator Rankin about it with doing some sort of implementation with our chain and snow tire laws, so that way when the highway does close less frequently, because my sister is an emergency services, and I think anytime if someone had a heart attack in Silverthorne when it's backed up, they are not getting care when they need it. And those are seconds that matter. And so all the ways that we can, again, multi-jurisdictionally, I've bugged Chief about this many times about ways that, and I've understood his answer every time he says that it's outside of his jurisdiction, but we have to work with everyone at the table to make sure that our roads are clear enough to get emergency services when they need to get there, and better yet, if they're in Silverthorne for faster action to save lives.
So Silverthorne proper is obviously a huge concern, and the traffic issues and going back and forth into Dillon. the interstate, all that kind of stuff. But Silverthorne also extends far beyond where we think of. And we've got people 10 miles north of Silverthorne that are in an extremely critical situation if something's happening out there. There's a dangerous piece of road out there that has pretty scary things happen on it. And so it's not just here and it's not just over there. We got to be thinking out there as well. And we've also had a lot more homes built out that way. We have a lot more people to serve that way. So, I think these conversations have been had for so many years, and this problem has been a problem for Summit Fire and EMS for a long time, and we need some action. So I think the town needs to sit them down. We need a conversation. We need to hear those roadblocks. What do we have that's going on here? Why can't we get this done? And what do you need help with? And we figure out how to help them. And, we used to have a Silverthorne Fire Department. Maybe we need another Silverthorne Fire Department if push comes to shove. But I'm a big fan of thinking creatively. We move the roadblocks and we take away the problems and we get it done, because it's not even, I don't think it's even a conversation. It just needs to happen.
So several of you mentioned the old fire station. So next I'm going to ask you, what do you think is the best use of the old fire station in downtown Silverthorne?
Well, it could be Val's disco, roller skating. I have not been in that building for a really long time, so I don't even know what we're dealing with on the inside. But when some of the cost issues with the childcare facility and things like that came up, I thought of a few places. The factory store, the big square one that sits open, and I imagined all the kids running around in empty stores. I thought about the fire station and what a great place that is for potentially being able to section it off and utilize a building that already exists. I know that there's been conversations about arts and whatnot. We need childcare. When I was young, we used to go to the library and we'd make like clay things and paint stuff. And yeah, right here, it was in here. And Jan Shackelford, she'd lead us through lots of exercises and we'd take creations home to mom. But, maybe it's childcare in that span where there's activities happening in it. And so it is art, but it's also childcare. Or maybe it's just straight up a temporary building for some sort of childcare. I think there's a lot of creative things that we can do for that. And I think we have some spaces that are dedicated to art here. And I think we could be pretty creative with this one and think of some cool things to do with it that would really benefit our residents.
Speaking of the library, I'd say in the most immediate future, I would love to see, I know there's an occupant in there at the moment, but I would love to see it as the temporary house of or young adult and child activities when the library has to close for renovations this summer. I know they'll have special book delivery set up, but a lot of those great programming that our young ones look forward to, that our community depends on, will not be available. So if we can, at least in the immediate and yet temporary future while the library is closed, I would love to see those services moved over to that building. Again, I know we have a temporary occupant in there right now, so I'm not sure where that timing overlaps. But then moving on with that, you can mix art and childcare so well together. I love the idea of using buildings that aren't getting properly used for a great community need. And ideally, we'd love to see that Smith Ranch piece move into a large state-of-the-art childcare facility, because I know the regulations federally for childcare facilities is obnoxious, including the size and height of your toilets, and that's retrofitting existing buildings isn't always the cheapest option. But it's an option that can provide immediate care for our families who are actually just leaving Summit County because they can't find a place, or you have great experienced workers leaving the workforce because they can't find childcare. And then you have these great businesses who are losing their managers. They're losing other great employees because they can't figure out childcare because it's either too expensive or not available. It's a 500 kid wait list right now. The moment you think baby, you better get on a wait list right now. And you might not even have a partner for that. So I think childcare would be a great option for that building at the moment.
I kind of like the idea that Aaron said about, using it temporarily to fill needs within this community, with the renovation of the library being able to fill that need. I know that the Arts Council would like to put art within that, but I think all of those can intertwine with childcare, whether it's before school programs or after school programs or during the day. I think all of those things can go together, but until we build that Smith Ranch Center, we need to help families in the immediate before they leave the community because they can no longer afford to be here. And childcare is a huge problem. I mean, it costs as much to put your child in childcare up here as it does to send them to CU Boulder in some instances, and that's not right. We need people within the workforce, but parents can't if they're taking care of their kids, and we can't continue to have a community if we don't have children that are growing up in it. So I think we can intertwine some of the temporary needs that we have within the community, some of the urgent needs that we have by using a facility that's already there, that we don't have to build, we don't have to take to the level that we want it to, but it can fulfill an immediate need within this town.
That building is pretty important to all of us. That is the center of our town if we think about it. Let's look at where the new core center is going to be. That building's dead smack in the middle of it. And I think it's important. I think arts are a great thing for there. My only concern with childcare is the traffic and everything that's there. It's not necessarily the easiest place to pick kids up, drop kids off, get kids in, get kids out. There won't be any playground area for them to play outside. I still think Smith Ranch would be the best place for our child care center. I'd like to see that kept as a town building. I'd like to see the town keep it and use it for multiple uses. I think the library is a perfect excuse or a perfect example of what we could use it for short term. Long term, I think there's a lot of things we could use that. After school activities, I mean, older kids probably in there is not as much of a challenge as younger kids running around. But, I think the arts and the culture and, with the theater there's a lot of need for some of that stuff. And I think what will happen eventually, that building's need will come up and we'll find out exactly where it needs to be and what it needs to be used for. But I do caution on the childcare. I just think as somebody that walks across that street 10 times a day, it's not the best place for young kids. It's such a noisy, busy place. And, I just want to make sure that the town keeps that and that stays within our buildings and structures that we can use for the future projects. So, thanks.
The fire station in the middle of Silverthorne is a very important location. It's a very important building. We in town council are calling it activating that space. I think that the town should also keep it. We've been asked to help with the Art Council make it into an interactive art space, public art space. I think that's a great use for it. I also think it's important that the town keep it. Unfortunately, for it to be used for any purposes, it's going to have to be brought up to code, which is going to require a little bit of a financial investment in it. But I think if we do use it for this interactive art space in the middle of Silverthorne, which I think would be a great, unique use for it, and bring a lot of interest into the town core, I think that the Art Council should have some skin in the game, and I think that they should help bring it up to code. And I think possibly they should form a small business and potentially pay rent so that it's not just an outlay of cash for the town of Silverthorne for the foreseeable future. And that way the town keeps it. Eventually maybe it would be valuable space for something else. But in the meantime, the town keeps it, and it provides a really interesting and unique space for people that are wandering around the downtown area, the new downtown area of Silverthorne.
I think we should turn it into a liquor store. Just kidding, Chris. I think we really just need to ask the community what they want to see in that space, and then the town can decide what is actually feasible. Whether it be a survey to the town or have community members come and present to the town what they think should be there. and then the town can take a look at it and see what they can do with it based on, how many, the popular vote of what it should be and the presentations. I think it's a great opportunity to bring the community together, bring them in to, be happy with the new downtown and really make it what the community wants it to be, and what is possible for us to do based on, the feedback from the town. So I don't really think it should be up to council or up to the town to decide. It should be up to the community to decide what to go in that space.
It's kind of funny because as a fire station, it's not sprinkled, which is one of the things that you have to do to bring it up to code, which I find, I guess, if they thought maybe there's a truck there, they can just put the fire out, but that is one of the things. I will say I agree. I don't want to sell that building right now. I think it's an important corner for the town. One of the things that the art committee had brought to us was the idea of the maker space and, being able to turn it into, a place where artists can come in and work on their craft. But part of that as well, and, what you guys were talking about with the library and some of the other, programming for kids is we don't have enough programming and space for kids in town. And, that was one of the thoughts with the art committee was to be able to have the artists actually help provide classes and programming for children. So, I think, and I'm not an advocate of that as the child care center for the reasons that Tim said. I'll just give you guys briefly an update that the county and some of the council members have gone up to Vail. Vail has a new modular child care center, which was put up pretty quickly, but we can do something like that at Smith Ranch for a much cheaper cost than building it up from the ground up with stick built. And so I know we're going to talk about this at council tomorrow night, but it does seem like we can get back to closer to what the original budget was that the county had put down and put that Head Start program type of thing in the space at Smith Ranch that we had originally talked about. So I like the idea right now of the maker space and using it for some of this programming for kids in classes. I want to activate the space. The community's come to us. I think one of the really cool things is the involvement of some of our younger members of the community, whether it's kids or whether it's just, 20-something-year-olds. And the art committee seems to be made up of a lot of those guys. And I love the energy and the passion. And if we put some money into this building to get it up to code.
Out of time.
Yeah. I know. I got to put my own little thingy on here, so.
So that's my last question. We're going to shift on to talking about the ballot issue. That's the question that's on the ballot this fall. Wow, spring. I'm just tied to elections happen in the fall in my brain. Yeah. So you guys are all done. I did want to mention that we asked every candidate quite a few more questions. It's on our website. So if you head to summitdaily.com/election, we asked about Exit 205, childcare, the tax increase that's on the ballot, the mobile home park situation in town, and the redevelopment of downtown. So they talked about their feelings on all of those topics. And then each candidate also wrote a commentary that outlines their top priorities. So definitely head there once you have your ballot and you're ready to do your voting. But thanks for everybody for being here and doing this. I did want to echo what Anne-Marie said, which is that Silverthorne has had uncontested elections in the past. So it's really exciting to have a contested election and just really appreciate everybody running. Thanks, guys. And then if you want to hang out, you'll be one of our ballot people.
Do I have to?
You have to. If you guys went ahead and take a seat, we'll just do about 10 minutes on the ballot question, and then we'll wrap up.